Have you ever felt lost in a conversation, like the words around you were flying too fast to catch? Meet Anna, a young woman who came to London with a suitcase, a dream, and almost no English. She couldn't ask for directions. She couldn't join conversations. She felt invisible. But day by day, mistake by mistake, she kept going. In this video, you'll follow Anna's real English learning journey, from fear and silence to confidence and fluency. Whether you're a beginner, a shy speaker, or someone who keeps saying, maybe next time, this story is for you. Let's begin Anna's journey, and maybe yours too. Anna's English journey, from silence to fluency. When Anna first set foot in London, the world around her seemed like a blur of unfamiliar sounds. English echoed from every corner, on buses and cafes, through TV screens, but to Anna, it felt more like noise than language. She had learned English in school, memorized rules, passed exams. But speaking? That was terrifying. Every attempt to speak felt like walking a tightrope without a safety net. A simple question like, "How are you?" triggered anxiety. Would she use the right tense? Would they laugh if she mispronounced something? Would they even understand her? Most days, she chose silence. It was safer. She became a quiet observer in a world that moved too fast for her to keep up. But inside, Anna held a dream, a quiet, persistent dream. She didn't want to just get by. She wanted to thrive, to belong, to speak with ease, to understand jokes, to have real conversations that didn't leave her exhausted and embarrassed. And so, one rainy afternoon in her tiny London apartment, Anna made a decision. She pulled out a blank notebook, wrote English Journey on the cover, and made herself a promise. No matter how long it takes, I will become fluent. This is the story of that promise. A story of frustration and breakthroughs, of falling down and getting back up, of turning fear into fuel and doubt into determination. It's the journey of how Anna built her fluency, one word, one sentence, one brave conversation at a time. If you've ever felt small in a room full of confident speakers, if you've ever hidden your voice because you were afraid of making a mistake, this story is for you. Anna's journey is proof. Fluency isn't a talent. It's a decision, a journey, a daily practice. And if she could do it, so can you. Chapter 1. The beginning, from silence to a promise. When Anna first stepped off the plane in London, everything felt like a whirlwind. The bustling streets, the chatter of strangers, the overhead announcements, all in English. But while the city buzzed with energy, Anna felt a strange stillness inside. She could barely understand what people were saying, let alone respond with confidence. She often found herself nodding politely during conversations, hoping the other person wouldn't ask a question. She would return to her small apartment and look up every unfamiliar phrase she had heard during the day. It was exhausting and disheartening. One afternoon, after failing to ask for directions properly, she broke down in tears on a park bench. But sitting there, among the falling leaves, Anna made a quiet vow. She took out her notebook and wrote in large, determined letters, English Journey. Beneath it, she wrote, I will learn to speak fluently. I will not give up. That moment became her anchor. A quote she kept returning to was from Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done. And for Anna, that promise was the beginning of everything. Chapter 2. Immersion and Awakening, Letting English In. Anna realized that she had to do more than study English. She had to live it. She decided to surround herself with the language completely. English became her environment. Music, TV shows, podcasts, labels on jars, signs in the supermarket. Even her phone settings were changed to English. One evening, she watched a British sitcom with subtitles and found herself laughing. Not because she understood every word, but because she finally caught a joke without needing translation. That tiny moment felt like magic. She adopted the mindset of a child learning their first language, absorbing everything without judgment. Don't aim to understand everything, she reminded herself. Aim to recognize more than yesterday. By immersing herself, she began to feel English instead of just translating it. Like learning the rhythm of a song, her ears slowly attuned to its beat. Chapter 3. Finding the right tools. Learning with purpose. At first, Anna tried everything, grammar books, apps, YouTube lessons, but she quickly felt overwhelmed. The more she tried, the more lost she felt. That changed when she discovered Grammar in Levels. The simple, graded stories spoke to her directly. They were easy enough to follow, but challenging enough to push her forward. "I finally found something that didn't make me feel stupid," she later said. She also found testlanguages.com, where she could track her vocabulary growth. The tools gave her structure and progress, but more importantly, they gave her confidence. One day, she came across a quote: "The best tool is the one you'll use." That became her motto. She stopped chasing perfection and started building consistency with the tools that worked for her. Chapter 4. Facing fear, breaking the silence. Perhaps Anna's biggest hurdle wasn't vocabulary or grammar. It was fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of sounding silly. Fear of failure. She remembered an early experience at a coffee shop. She tried to order, but her mind went blank. "A cappuccino, please," came out as a whisper. The barista asked her to repeat, and she froze. She ended up pointing and nodding. She walked out embarrassed. That night, she stared at the ceiling and asked herself, "What am I so afraid of?" She wrote in her journal, "I would rather speak badly than not speak at all." And that became her new rule. She practiced speaking alone in her room, talking to her reflection. She began repeating phrases out loud during walks. And she joined a small English-speaking group online, where she could speak without fear of judgment. Each time she spoke, even with mistakes, she felt stronger. Confidence, she learned, is not the absence of fear, but the decision to speak anyway. Chapter 5. Shadowing, speaking like a native. Anna discovered a technique called shadowing, repeating what native speakers say in real time, mimicking their pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. At first, it felt strange. She stumbled constantly and had to pause videos every few seconds. But she stuck with it. Every morning, she chose a short video, an interview, a movie clip, a TED Talk. She played a sentence, paused, repeated, again and again. Slowly, she trained her mouth to move like a native speaker's. The contractions, the melody, the stress, all became more familiar. At first, it was mechanical, but after weeks of practice, something shifted. Her speech started to flow. Her voice carried more confidence. She no longer hesitated on sounds that once felt impossible. She even began to enjoy the process. One day, while shadowing a TED Talk, she caught herself delivering an entire paragraph without pausing. It was a small win, but for Anna, it felt like climbing a mountain. "I felt like I was borrowing the speaker's voice," she wrote in her journal. But slowly, it's becoming my own. Shadowing gave Anna more than pronunciation. It gave her courage. Speaking no longer felt like walking on a tightrope. It felt like dancing. Chapter 6. Vocabulary testing and tracking progress. Anna wanted proof that she was improving. She didn't just want to feel progress. She wanted to see it. That's when she discovered online vocabulary tests. Websites like testlanguages.com became part of her routine. She created a system. Every Sunday, she would take a new test. She recorded her scores in a notebook and reviewed the words she didn't know. Over time, she watched her vocabulary expand. Hundreds of new words became part of her mental library. "I knew 1,500 words when I started. Now I know more than 5,000, she once told a friend. But it's not just about how many. It's about how well I can use them. These tests weren't just about numbers. They were motivation, evidence, a reminder that even on the slow days, she was still moving forward. She made flashcards, played vocabulary games, and challenged herself to use new words in daily conversations. Learning vocabulary this way was active, fun, and deeply satisfying. Anna began to see language not as a wall, but as a landscape she could explore. Chapter 7. Grammar in Real Life. Grammar had always been Anna's enemy. In school, it was a list of rules she had to memorize. But now, she was learning it differently. She started noticing grammar in context, in conversations, in stories, in songs. Instead of drilling verb tenses, she read dialogues and watched scenes from TV shows. She paid attention to how people use conditionals, modals, and articles. Slowly, grammar became less abstract. It had meaning, purpose. She returned to grammar and levels, reading stories, and noticing how grammar created clarity and emotion. She would take a sentence, rewrite it in different tenses, experiment with structure. He had gone to the store became he went to the store, then he's going to the store. The shift in time, mood, and meaning fascinated her. She realized grammar wasn't about perfection. It was about communication, and Anna was finally starting to feel comfortable using it. Chapter 8. Habits that built fluency. Anna knew that motivation was important, but habits were what kept her moving. She created a daily routine. 15 minutes of reading, 15 minutes of listening, 10 minutes of speaking out loud, 5 minutes of review. She didn't wait for motivation. She scheduled learning like brushing her teeth. She posted sticky notes on the wall. 1 step a day, every day. Consistency became her secret weapon. Some days, she felt inspired. Other days, she didn't. But she showed up anyway. And over time, those small actions added up. Her brain adapted. Her speech flowed more easily. English became part of her daily life. Not a separate subject, but a living skill. I don't study English anymore, she told herself. I live it. She kept a journal, not just to write in English, but to track her habits. Green check marks marked her calendar. Each one was a symbol of commitment, a quiet promise kept. Chapter 9. Learning from mistakes. One day, Anna said, "I am boring," instead of "I am bored." Her co-worker laughed, not in a cruel way, but in surprise. Anna turned red. But then, something happened. She laughed too. That moment changed everything. She realized that mistakes weren't failures. They were feedback. Every error taught her something new. She began keeping a mistake journal, where she recorded her errors and corrected them. "I used to fear my mistakes," she wrote. "Now I collect them like puzzle pieces. Each one helps me understand the bigger picture." Chapter 10. Speaking to connect. One evening at a local language exchange, Anna met other learners from around the world. They spoke with different accents at different levels, but they all had one thing in common: the courage to speak. In that space, Anna practiced without fear. She asked questions, told stories, laughed at jokes. She realized something powerful. Language isn't just about words. It's about people. One woman from Brazil shared how English helped her get a job abroad. A man from Turkey spoke about reconnecting with an old friend. As Anna listened, she realized that English was a bridge to countless lives, experiences, and emotions. Speaking English allowed her to make friends, understand cultures, and share who she was. It wasn't just a skill. It was a bridge to connection. Her conversations grew longer, deeper, more meaningful. And every time she spoke, she stepped further into the world she once watched from the sidelines. Anna had found her voice. The journey continues. Today, Anna speaks English fluently. She leads meetings at work, helps other learners find their confidence, and reads novels she once thought were impossible. But fluency was never the final destination. The real victory was in who she became along the way. Confident, persistent, and open-hearted. She learned that English is more than grammar or vocabulary. It's a way to connect, to express, to belong. It's a path of growth, one that never truly ends. And now, she shares this truth with others. Fluency is not a talent. It's a decision, a choice you make again and again. So if you're on your own journey, keep going. Speak bravely. Make mistakes. Celebrate progress. Because one day, you'll look back and realize you didn't just learn English. You became someone new. Subscribe for more inspiration. Your English journey continues here.